Welcome to this weekly reading for inner healing. Let's dive in. So, what is the week's lesson? What is it here to teach us? Ooh, interesting. We got the Five of Swords. And the Five of Swords is all about conflict and strife, but it's mostly about picking your battles and choosing wisely. And what I'm getting here is that the battles aren't necessarily coming from outside, but they're more internal. And I feel like it's about the week's lesson is about learning to pick your battles and pick what is important for you to be focused on. And especially since swords have to do with our thoughts and our thought patterns and our brain and our mind, to me, it's about choosing what you're working on. Because as we're doing our personal growth and our inner healing, sometimes we feel like we have all these five things to be dealing with and working on and kind of pushing from this front and that front. And sometimes I feel like when we try to do it all, it just gets overwhelming. And also, it's not really useful, but it can make us really sad when we feel like we're failing, maybe. But so to me, it's about maybe choosing one thing to focus on and then do that one really well and give it time too, because as we know, with anything that's personal growth related, it's not a quick fix. And so these things take time. So to me, the week's lesson is about choosing our battles within ourselves and learning to kind of be okay with it, not winning every battle. So, what is the weakness to work out for? Okay, interesting. We got the Seven of Wands. And the Seven of Wands is actually a card that talks about feeling like you're always having to defend yourself and feeling as if you're kind of alone in your way of being. And it's funny because actually in this particular card, it seems as if this person has actually won something, like as a game. It's won. But if you look closely, the person looks really sad. There's not that happiness that comes from actually having won. And that's what I'm saying here too in this Five of Swords. It's like you can win, but at what cost? That's why it's picking your battles and picking what you actually choose to focus on. And so your weaknesses this week is that maybe you're going to be feeling like you have to defend yourself or even defend why you're wanting to focus on all five things or why those things are important for you to be working on. But it's about also just kind of lowering your defense maybe even towards yourself, not feeling like you're in kind of competition or in battle with yourself all the time, maybe relaxing a bit, because actually this is quite a fun scene. And I feel like as if it's about like almost remembering how life can be a game if we see it that way, but that when we get so serious, it loses its fun. So, what are your strengths to that you can lean into? Ooh, interesting. We got this the Knight of Swords, and I always feel like the Knight of Swords is like basically a Jedi learning to deal with the thoughts and learning to deal with like our mind and harnessing the power and realizing how powerful it is. But just like in Star Wars, it can either be a good force or a negative force. And it's up to us to be able to determine how to deal with our mind. And I love though how it's almost like this knight is on a quest. And I think that is what's so interesting when we're doing our personal healing work and we notice things. It's that your strength this week is that you're motivated and that you are aware that like you're learning too. And so your strength is that you are kind of on this quest and you're going to be like, okay, I'm learning. It's not easy. I feel a little bit in competition or kind of like feeling like I have to defend myself, but you're noticing it and you're starting to work on it. So that's a great strength to have. And as always, what is a message of love from your higher self? Oh, I love this. We got the Two of Cups. And I love that so much because in all of these cards that we've had so far, let me get them up, they seem quite lonely. We got the Five of Swords, then we had the Seven of Wands that was kind of lonely, and then even this guy, the Knight of Swords, is just kind of on this lonely quest. But I love having this one come up, the Two of Cups, because the Two of Cups is all about partnership, harmony, peace, joy, that kind of wonderful thing that you can have when you're with people. And I see it as two messages here. One, I'm seeing that the message of love is that you don't have to go through all of this alone this week. Like sometimes when we're kind of dealing with our battles and trying to figure it all out, it can feel so lonely. And so what I'm getting here is that maybe something that can soothe you is to go out and be with people that you love, your family, your friends, somebody who kind of like makes you feel that you're part of something, that you're not alone. But I'm also getting the second message, which is, this card for sure, it could be partnership with other people, but I think it's also partnership with ourselves and becoming that partner, that person that you can trust. And that comes from learning these sometimes not so comfortable lessons that we go through, learning which battles to choose, which ones are you going to do, feeling like you're defending yourself, but maybe not having to. And then also remembering that you're on this quest. And so I feel though that by doing all those things, you're building this wonderful relationship with yourself that's priceless. And that once you find that inner harmony, when you can forgive yourself for how you are, for the way you might be dealing with things, or the way you might always be wanting to win right now, or try to figure it out, or really kind of get to the bottom of it, you can be so compassionate and loving even with that part. And it's by doing that that you will start building this beautiful relationship with yourself. But also don't forget, you don't have to do this whole week alone. If it gets too heavy this week, reach out to somebody, go out, have a cup of tea, a cup of cake, give yourself some rest and some grace, because it's not always easy when we're doing all this work on ourselves. So on that, I'm wishing you a wonderful week, and I will see you next week. Thanks so much for watching.